Good morning, Teach Better family. My name is Katie Miglin, and we are here with our Wednesday Wake Up, where we go live every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Eastern. Nope, that's wrong. 7 a.m.
There you
Eastern,
go.
6 a.m. Central on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. I think I got them all in. And we are not Jeff or Ray, but we are here for your Wednesday Wake Up, and we are super excited to get this party started. Are you ready, Andrea?
I am so ready.
All right, we'll be back in just 30 seconds. All right, good morning, and happy Wednesday. We are not your typical people on here, so we are taking over the Wednesday Wake Up. Like I said, my name is Katie Miglin, and I'm here with the amazing Andrea. Andrea, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I am doing well. How are you?
I am good. I can't believe that they actually let us take over on Wednesday.
Right? Don't talk about it. It's like our little secret. Maybe they won't know.
Exactly. Maybe not. Yes. Well, for those of you who have not been on, our social medias, our team right now is traveling at FETC. We've got a ton of team members down there, as well as I know a ton of educators. And so when it came up to Wednesday Wake Up, Andrew and I were like, heck yeah, we'll hang out and maybe follow the script, maybe follow, some rules. But otherwise, we're just going to talk about how jealous they are. They're in New Orleans, right?
Yes, like literally my Twitter feed, since Sunday night, has just been filled with hashtag FETC. Like everybody
Yes.
who is anybody in education in our network, I feel like is down there right now. I am so jealous.
Yes.
Kyle and I were able to travel there before we had kids over spring break, and it was just such a cool city. There is so much history. There is so much, obviously, entertainment with Bourbon Street. The food is divine. I know I've been texting Ray. I'm like, okay, you have to go eat here. You have to do this.
Yes.
So I'm definitely loving living vicariously through everybody on social media right now.
I 100% agree. However, I'm also having a little bit of FOMO because a lot of
Oh,
our team members are together in person, and I'm just kind of sad. I mean,
yeah,
don't get me wrong. I do enjoy starting my Wednesday with
that's
you,
good.
but Andrew and I were just talking, and it sounds like a lot of people are putting this in the chat that it's a snowy day today,
Oh,
but
yeah.
not a snow day. So, um, tons of people in the chat.
Sure.
Good morning. We've got Erin, good morning from our team. Stacy, good morning from our team. It looks like it's rainy in Nashville, though. No snow there, which is a good thing. Good morning, Julie, Brittany. So that is, I guess, the kind of the theme is I want to know, what is the weather like? I feel like we've been
Mhm.
hearing nonstop for several weeks that it's like been kind of crazy weather. Snow here. Andrew, how much snow did you get this morning?
I would say there's a good couple inches out there. Like the grass is completely
Oh,
covered. There's snow over the bushes. Our driveway is completely covered. And yeah, I think it's supposed to be most of the day today up here in northern Illinois, snow. And then it's pretty much every day this week until Saturday. There's going to be snow every day. And I think Saturdays are next time to get like more than like an inch. So I know it's like just January. We need this because we haven't had snow here in Chicago since we got pounded on before Christmas. So I know it's supposed to be here, but whenever it comes, it's like, oh, it looks pretty from your window, but not necessarily for functionality when you need to get up and do something.
right. I feel like the same. Like I looked out this morning and we had similar amount, just like everything was covered, but not enough to call snow day. And I did kind of the same thing. I was like, oh, this is pretty, but like it would have been pretty in December.
Right.
It's January. I'm over it. But
Yeah.
it does sound like several people have snow days.
Yes. In Ohio, it looks like.
Yes. So enjoy your snow day. Enjoy being able to hopefully relax. We are going to get into kind of some stuff this segment to talk about like what do you do on those days that the kids are crazy. But before I guess we get into that, Andrew, I'm assuming at this point people know who you are. You are around a ton. You're always commenting on the live streams. But if someone has jumped in today and they're like, who is that Andrea person? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Who is that strange person that does not look like Ray or Jeff?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I have been the Teach Better team in some capacity for a really long time now. I started off as an ambassador coordinator with my good friend Megan Hosey, and we developed from the ground up our ambassador program. And I love seeing so many of our ambassadors in the comments right now. So shout out to our ambassadors. And then my other part of my job is I help coordinate the courses for our Teach Better Academy. I know a bunch of you in the comments have been a part of that as well. So my overall title is Training and Development Specialist, but it breaks down to those two things. I work with our ambassadors, and then I work closely with the authors in our academy.
And you kind of downplayed that. You rock the ambassador program and the academy. So, for those of you who don't know, we have an amazing group of ambassadors. Yes, shout out to all the ambassadors who are joining us this morning. But we just had a whole group join us again, which what people don't know, Andrea, is that means that you went through applications
Mhm.
recently, you've accepted people, you've accepted new mentors. So you had a ton of work this winter that you did to bring those on. And the whole while you're also working on courses. We have new courses that come out about every month or so.
Mhm.
And so going through that process, Andrea is the person who lets the author know what next steps need to be taken so that the things can get recorded and labeled and all that stuff. So Andrea, you do a ton for the team, and you have two small humans that are at your house all the time.
I do. They don't seem to want to leave. They are just always here. But yes, I have. She's 19 months now. I can't believe it. Lily, and then Luke, who is kind of like our Teach Better baby. He
Yes.
was always around in the beginning, and still pops up now. He is almost 3.5, which is
Oh my
just
gosh. Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, that's time flies for sure.
It really does, because I always think of the Teach Better Ambassador program is like the same age as Luke. Like Megan and I
Mhm.
were developing it when I was pregnant, and I remember her coming over after I had him, and I'd be wearing him and like the baby carrier, and we'd be working on ambassador stuff, getting it ready to launch, and then yeah, we launched it that summer right after he was born.
Wow. That's so fun. That's like a fun little like connection memory
Yeah,
that you have.
I
That's
always have to
awesome.
remember it that way. I'm like Megan's like, okay, we have to do work. I'm like, well, I got the baby, so come on over.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, if you are an ambassador, we're continuing to be impressed by all the things you guys do. Um, like I know we've said before, but if you applied to be an ambassador and weren't accepted, it was such a hard choice. I know I sat in that meeting and I was like, thank goodness that there are like other people in this room, because I don't know how anyone made a single decision alone, because there were a ton of great applicants. So if you applied and didn't get accepted, please, please, please apply again next year. The ambassador program is awesome. Lots of great connections. I always love going into the ambassador Facebook group and just seeing some of the conversation and some of the activities. So always fun to be in there. So Andrew, we've got some kind of fun stuff today, and we have no one in charge of us today.
That's
So
right.
I know it's going to be awesome. Let's hope I remember how to go through things. But should we go ahead and get into our teachable moment?
Let's do it.
All right, welcome back to our Wednesday Wake Up, where we go live every Wednesday morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn.
There you go.
And yeah, I got it. And this morning we are kind of talking about just some opportunities on what do you do on those days where you hoped for a snow day, or the weather's kind of crazy, or there's some external factor that is impacting your behavior. And Andrew, I think it's so interesting that when we were discussing this before we got on, because I literally was just talking to a friend yesterday and she was like, the kids are crazy because there is talk of snow coming,
Sure.
which, you know, as someone who lives in Illinois, that happens
Mhm.
often. And how do you like navigate that? You know, you've got like these things that you can't control, whether
Mhm.
it's the full moon or something else, and it's kind of unpredicted. And we're not talking about, you know, like the holidays that are popping up with holiday
Right.
party, but those things that it's like you walk in and there's something driving a lot of energy and you've got to still teach. So I know you had to have tackled this because you dealt
Oh,
with snow days. So what are some tips and tricks that people can use walking into their classroom today?
sure. I would say don't fight it. You have to go with it, right? So, like, let's say you have this amazing plan for the day. Just know it's going out the window, and that's okay, right? Being teachers, we have perfected being flexible, right? So, I would just say don't fight it, go with it. So, for example, if I'm going into the classroom today, it's obviously snowing, not enough snow that there's going to be a snow day, but the buses are probably going to be running late. Kids are going to be getting dropped off late. Who's going to come in wet because they walked to school and didn't wear their boots, right? And they come in and they have stopping gym shoes. And they're like, what do I do with
Yeah.
these?
Yeah.
So you got to go with it. So as an English teacher, one thing that I love to do is our free writes. So this would probably be a day where for that bell ring at the beginning of class, we're going to do a free write. Bring them if you can, close to the window, have them write about the snow that's falling. If it's a crazy day with the storms, they're writing about, a scary story where there's a storm blowing in. So you can use that as your inspiration. I love the tech tools that we have now, like GimKit. That's a day, let's say you have half of your kids are in class. You're not going to present a new lesson. Go ahead, jump onto GimKit. Maybe you already have a game pre-made. If not, there are so many there for you, or Pluk It. So the kids are still engaging with content, but doing it in a fun way and not as much pressure where you feel like, oh, I have
Yes.
to catch these kids up who are missing, because it's literally a review. If you can, maybe go on some kind of a scavenger hunt throughout, your school,
Oh,
and
love
where
that.
they're, making inferences. Just get them up and moving, because those things usually work better when you do have a smaller crew. So let's say,
Yeah.
you've got a smaller group, take them around and have them stop and make inferences or draw what they see. So yeah, these are the days where I was like, all right, what did I want to do? It's going out the window. What can we
Uh-huh.
do to work with this, but get the kids up and out of their seat and not feel like they're working? So they don't, even though they're not at home, it kind of still feels like a snow day at school.
Oh, I love that. I love that you kind of embrace that it's like maybe what people wanted. It's like if everybody was really excited about a snow day and it didn't happen, like how can you still have fun in the classroom? I know Janelle in the comment says if you can't beat them, join them,
Yep.
just go with it. And I think that's so true. But I think you honestly hit on kind of like several different things. One being that not only will the energy be different, you have like just if it's the day before an anticipated snow day or it's the day that they thought was going to be a snow day, but you do have like the energy. But you might have kids that have walked to school or who had had didn't wasn't had a successful morning. Maybe they got stuck in the snow or their parents had car issues. Like
Mhm.
there's kind of some of that negative energy that might come with some students that
Sure.
can be easily masked by some of the kids who are like, there's snow or there's and so it is important to be mindful of like that they're going to be coming in kind of just in a different mood no
Right.
matter what. And so being mindful of how do you address all of their needs, how do you address all of their feelings, and letting those kids who maybe had kind of the rougher start for whatever reason, and which we would do on a normal day, but it just
Mhm.
feels like an adult. If I know that I had car issues, I'm going to be crabby and my day is going
Oh,
to
for
be kind of off
sure.
to a bad start. So just kind of embracing that. But then I think it's also interesting you brought up if you have a smaller group, because we do see that sometimes when something happens, whether it's in the community or something happens with the weather, that it does impact attendance. And yeah, kind of charging forward with your lesson maybe isn't always the right step, and
Right.
realizing that, maybe we should do something a little different today,
Right.
so that
And
you don't lose that lesson, as you kind of
right.
said.
And sometimes even it could be the opposite. You might end up with a bigger group depending on teachers, right? Let's say
Yes.
a teacher is stuck on the expressway because it's snowing or there's a bad accident. I know we've had that when I was
Yeah.
working where it'd be like, okay, the teacher next door to you, is stuck on the expressway. Can you pull your kids into their room? So that's the perfect time then if you were a school that's lucky enough to have, a one-to-one where each child has a Chromebook or an iPad. There you go. Put on a trivia Kahoot, and you've got
Yeah.
a group of 40 kids, but you're keeping them engaged. Not necessarily teaching them, a content lesson, but being able to, jump in and help out your fellow teachers as well.
Well, and what a better day to do that than one of these days when you can like fully invest in relationships, which I know we talk about
Yes.
often on our team, but just really embracing that. And I know that, we both taught with COVID as a thing and there'd be kids in and out all the time, but it is kind of one of those times where you should just take a second to think like, what's the goal today? What's my
Yeah.
purpose today? And if your goal today in a crazy day with crazy weather is just to build relationships and build that classroom culture, then I say do it, because it is a perfect day for that. And honestly, you're probably not in the greatest mindset either. You're probably
Mhm.
like, you've had a different morning than usual. Now,
Right.
Andrew, I do want to kind of ask you, because
Sure.
it seems like the big shift is not having a snow day, but having the remote
Yeah.
learning
Right.
days.
Right.
So I know you taught with remote learning. So
Mhm.
what is your mindset when it comes to remote learning? Like, how does a teacher use those days to still be beneficial?
Well, for me, it was a little bit easier. I do use the grid method, something that our team definitely knows a little something about. So it was kind of foolproof, right? So they already had their planning calendar on what they were expected to do. They knew their goals. So before we had COVID, my students were 1-to-1. So if it was a snow day, I would always put it would be optional. I'd say, okay, we have a
Mhm.
snow day. You do have your device. You know what you're working on the grid. If you want to use this as a grid catch-up day, go for it. If not, know that you're going to have to, be catching up, when you come back. I also used to do when we were fully remote learning on that like half year when COVID first hit and we are like, what is remote learning? What is this new thing?
Yeah.
Just to keep kids engaged and they weren't so isolated, I tried to do twice a week. Sometimes it was more, sometimes it was less, where I would run a remote kit game for them. And so they would all join in to like the code, and then we couldn't see each other, but you'd be able to see each other's names and be playing together. So yeah, it would usually be if it was like an actual snow day, I would say here, you know what you could be working on. But if it was a day that my district didn't say like I had a Zoom with
Mhm.
them, then I would offer those kinds of things. Like, hey, I'm gonna do a game at 12. Hop on if you want. And a lot of kids, and that's when I had Luke, he was, really little. Sometimes I
Right.
would message them and be like, okay, Luke didn't go down for a nap. I can't do it right now. And I would have kids, on Google Classroom that were like, but you're going to do it later, right? Like that was the one thing they like looked forward to, because the kids were isolated too. Their
Yeah.
parents maybe weren't working from home. They still had to leave. The kids were home, all alone. So kind of finding a way to still engage them, but still, make it fun. Or I would post, we used to use Padlet a lot.
Mhm.
And I would do like a meme Monday. And, I'd post a meme of like Luke doing something silly and like put an English thing in there. And then they would play around with that and they would post memes. Or we always had a challenge. I taught affixes as an English teacher. So if they found like an affix that we're doing in the real world, so like let's say they're putting on their deodorant and they spotted it said antiperspirant because anti was one of our words, they post a picture on our Padlet. So just finding little silly things like that, just to keep that communication going, but
Yeah.
still kind of keep them in that school mindset too.
Well, and I like that you are doing things that, like you said, relate to school, but still keep them connected, because that
Mhm.
is the tricky part when kids are home, or, there's things that are just keeping your class a little disconnected. It's important to make sure that you're still having them some way know that there's other people kind of in the same boat.
Right?
I know I talked to a teacher yesterday. She did similar stuff. She created kind of a grid, not a grid method, but a kind of a like a
Like a choice
tic-tac-toe
board
board.
kind of a
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
exactly. But she really wanted kids to enjoy, if it was a snow day, to be able to go and enjoy the snow, because she's
Yeah.
like, we lose that. And so hers was, build a snowman and take a picture and post it here, or, make a new recipe with
Hmm.
random things in your cabinet. And so it is just kind of fun to just embrace those little things, but still find ways to connect them, because those are the things that aren't always possible in your classroom. Meme Monday is awesome in so many ways, but it is probably a little easier to just push it out in, the remote setting.
For
So
sure.
I would love to hear. We have a ton of activity in our comments, which is
Common.
awesome. But I would like to know, what are people doing if they have to remote learn? I know someone said that they pushed out a flip for
Flipgrid. Yes.
kids. Flip
Love
grids
it.
are awesome. um, just doing different things. So if you have remote learning, or maybe when you did, what are some ways that you kept your class connected, and just kind of drop some ideas if people are kind of starting to get ready for their day and they're like, oh man, today's going to be a crazy day. Drop some ideas for people in the comments, so that when someone's kind of needing something, they can kind of go to this bank of
Mhm.
comments. Now, Andrew, I loved doing things that forced kids to put their cameras on. And I know you and
Yeah.
I both taught middle school, so that was like a rarity. But
Cameras
I
on their face. because the
Yeah.
cameras were always on, but it was on the ceiling fan or it was on the light.
Yes.
So cameras on the face.
Yes. Yes. And I love to always say, prep your face, prep your space. And
Mhm.
so I would always put that in my like slide before, they logged in, like prep your face, prep your space. Like we don't
Love
care what
that.
your room looks like, but you need to make sure you're ready. And anything that I could get them where they had to show me something was always an opportunity for them to turn their camera on. So
Oh
we
yeah.
would do like, would you rather was my favorite.
Mhm.
And because it would be like thumbs up, thumbs down. And so it was always funny because you would get like a kid that like clearly didn't want to be on camera. And so they'd be like,
Right, right.
just shoving their face in. But, just any of those like physical things, or it was like the
Mhm.
scavenger hunts, which I know our team likes to play sometimes of, go get something green from your house or go
Mhm.
get something that represents, this. And so just anything that you can do to get the kids active and connected, I think is really important. Erin threw in the chat doing on a scale of with any silly
Love
character
that.
to get them engaged and know how they are doing. I love that. Just kind of a check-in. Joshua Stamper, would you rather? Yep, we love those. Josh also says, thank you for holding
Yeah,
down
you
Wednesday
bet.
Wake Up while he enjoys his
I love
trip.
how he's the only one that's awake right now down there.
Yeah, no
Notice
kidding.
Ray and Jeff have not joined in. I know Dave is
Maybe
probably traveling, so he gets a pass.
maybe they just have full trust in us. They don't need to check in.
Sure, let's go with that. But what I think too, what you were saying with I've seen like hide and seek and like scavenger hunt, it works for any grade. Like I remember doing remote
Yes.
learning with my seventh graders, and you would think that they wouldn't like that stuff, but like it kind of we started doing on Friday if we had extra time. It was kind of like show and tell Friday.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like the last 3 minutes of remote, class. Like okay, go and grab something that you want to show, and they would all be showing it on their screen and like that's what my son does in his preschool class. So you'd be like, oh, what seventh grader wants to do that? No, like they would love that. And if I didn't like personally call it out, like because again, we would have 3 minutes. So be like, oh my gosh, look at so and so's cat, look at so and so's guitar. And then I would get like messages later, like, you didn't shout out what I showed. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like they still took it seriously.
That's so funny.
Wasn't like Luke where he has to do his little presentation. But yeah, they like took or they would just stand there and it would get closer. Like let's say it was my phone. And they would start with it here. And if I didn't like shout it out, they would just keep bringing it closer and closer. I'm like, okay, we see your cat, but put it away. Or if I
Yes.
would forget, they would do it like sideways. Like someone would like bring, like their, new whatever they had, and they would just slowly start bringing in
Uh-huh.
go back and bring them like, oh, is that my reminder that we're supposed to do show and tell right now?
I love the like subtleness of
No.
it.
Mhm. Or I would get like
My
the chats, like someone that would spam me in
yes.
the chat, like, did you
Mhm.
forget something? Last show and tell. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Got
Right.
2 minutes
Come on.
left.
I love one time my daughter, she got a picture from my nieces, her cousins, and early days of remote learning. I look over and she has taken her cousin's picture and put it in front of her own face for the Zoom. And I never had such a good mom look. I like walked on the other side of her computer so they couldn't see me. And I just looked at her and I was like, put it down right
What
now.
are you doing?
Yes.
And I think too that just reminded me. So I had a student. It probably wasn't the most appropriate thing, but it worked for us. She would take pictures of me and turn me into memes. So
It's so
and then she would
funny.
email them to me at the end of the day. And she's like, here's the pictures that I took of you during remote learning today. And as you can tell, I'm very animated, especially when if I would be. They used to like when I would read to them. Again, seventh graders, they still love being read to. So if like
Mhm.
the Raven, for example, when I read the Raven to them, I get very animated. And I had this like little paper mache bird that a student had made me years ago that I used. So it was like propped on my shoulder. There's a picture of me like this and like this fake bird on my shoulder. And then I would use that in my bell ringers. So like I would pick one like the best ones. The next day I would like post that as a bell ringer, like write a story about like this picture. So I think finding those crazy moments, but like
Yes.
going with it. Because like what am I going to do? I can't stop her from taking a picture of me. It's
Right.
unfortunately part of our technology now. But
Yep.
laughing with it. And then the kids would like it too. They're like, what did you take a picture of today? Or,
Hmm.
you gotta find a way to laugh at yourself too.
Well, and I think that's kind of the theme. It's whether you have a crazy day in the classroom, whether you are having, you're doing remote learning because of the weather or just any other thing, just kind of that theme of embrace those moments, laugh it off, and just, have those fun seconds with the kids, because
Mhm.
it is so easy to get kind of bogged down with we've got to hit this content, we've got to say, on this part of the pacing guide, and kind of do all of the structures that are in place, and to just take those minutes to just be like, let's just have a moment
Yep,
together, and
yep.
I found the same when we were, after coming back from COVID, it was just kind of a thing that continued, of just every Friday, we, rather than starting the class with a typical bell ringer, I would start with some sort of game of,
Sure.
whether it was would you rather, or, the where you zoom into the pictures and you try to figure out what the picture
Mhm.
is. But just, I think that's kind of the reflection. February can start to feel very long, especially if you live somewhere that the weather is questionable.
Yep.
And I know we've experienced this as educators, and I know we've talked to people that just these next couple of months can seem very blah.
Yeah,
And
dark, the weather's blah. Like, there's
yes,
somebody posted here in Chicago, like, "The sun is out today." I forgot what that was, and I'm like, "Yes."
yes,
It
yes,
really does affect your mood. As much as I try to think that it doesn't, like, it does. You don't realize it until you see the
yes.
sun. Like, "Oh, I have been kind of feeling blah." I'm like, I feel a lot better now just seeing that bright,
Right.
shiny ball in the sky.
Well, and I think it goes with, that the weather and the lack of sun goes with also just the time of year. Kids have settled. There isn't necessarily a big holiday to look forward to. Spring
Sure.
break seems very far
So
away if
far
you're
away.
someone that gets that, yes. And just there's state testing coming, I feel like the winter months are always kind of a lot of pressure to, oh my gosh, we're already halfway through the year, where we need to be halfway through our curriculum. We have this, and this that are, that are going to be happening. And so
Mhm.
I think if you take nothing else away, if our shenanigans and us like reflecting on all the things aren't helpful in any way, at least take those opportunities where you can just kind of embrace the moments, those
Mhm.
silly moments, whether you teach kindergarten all the way through high school. Just if there's some little moment that is a good way to connect with students, whether it's using your picture
Mhm.
that a kid took of you, which maybe wasn't the best thing, but you're okay with, using it as a meme, or doing some funny Padlet or writing prompt or whatever it is, just embrace those. And I love that people are throwing,
So I see Aaron's comment there, yeah.
yes. Erin says, for those of you who are listening on our podcast, she says, "Hi, love that you could do those on a scale of Mrs. Callenberger. What are you doing to? How are you doing today?" Ooh, I
I love
love
that.
that.
Yeah,
That's
because
so fun.
Kitty, I'll share some pictures with you when we get done. But yeah, some of them, I'm like, oh my gosh, was I mad? And she always knew exactly when. She was like, no, it was when so and so said this, and you made this face. And then again, it got her talking, and she was a student who was new to the district. So talk about so hard being new when you're in junior high, but new during a remote learning year. Like the year I
Oh
had
my
her was the
gosh.
year my school district was remote the entire year. So like she literally never got to meet anybody other than seeing their
Right.
faces on Zoom, and we had the chat turned off, but they couldn't like talk to each other, only to me. So that was kind of like her way to connect and to like stay
Yes.
involved because she didn't have anybody else to really connect to. And her mom worked in healthcare, so as we know, during that time, healthcare workers were so overstressed.
Stressful.
So
Yes.
that was another reason why I kind of let it go because it's like she needs this. Like this is the one thing for her and I to connect with, and the one thing to kind of keep her from going crazy at home. She didn't have, any new friends she could meet yet.
Well, and exactly what you said, she could tell you exactly what was happening in
Yep.
class. I mean,
Yeah,
the
it was a
fact
way to
that
bring it back. Oh yeah.
yeah, right. So like she was clearly engaged. She
Mhm.
wasn't doing it to be malicious, which
Right,
I
like
think
just
is the
taking
point.
exactly. Yes, because at first you'd
Yes.
be like, "Oh my gosh, wow, that's so inappropriate." But yeah, she would tell me, "Oh, it's when so and so said this." I'm like, "Oh, she remembered that. Okay, good." Or
Yeah,
disappointing
right.
where I used to act out like their vocabulary words a lot, like on Zoom again, because I had so many fun activities that we couldn't do because we weren't in class together. So I
Mhm.
resorted to charades a lot. So
Oh, yeah.
I would be acting out a vocabulary word, and then they'd have to click on this, on the chat, tell me what word it was. So a lot of the pictures were from that of me like acting something out, behind my
Yep.
screen.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
You telling that story of the girl made me laugh because I had a student who I would require them to submit videos of them doing their math problems because
sure.
I wanted, instead of conferencing, it was
Yeah,
submit a video of you explaining it. And I had this girl who was also new to the area. That's why it all like came flooding back to me. She was new to the area, didn't know
yeah.
anybody. So she would just turn her camera on and like I would go with her throughout like an hour or two of her day.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I would get these videos that would be like 15 minutes long. And at first
No.
I was like, how am I supposed to sit and watch 15 minutes every time she submits one of these? But then it kind of became a joke and I started to really look forward to it because
Sure. Like, what's she
she
gonna
would
show me
do the
today?
homework. Yeah, and she would be like, "Okay, now I'm going to go paint a picture. You're going to come with." And or she'd like bake cookies. And so it was like so fun and she continued even throughout the year after
Sure.
she came back in person. She would randomly send me a video. She's like, "It's been a while since you've gotten a video of me, so I'm gonna take you on my Saturday."
It's
And
like her flat stance, like Flat Stanley. You
yes,
take Flat Stanley
yes,
around, you were her Flat Stanley.
I was. But now she's in high school, and so now she's like found me, and so she emails me every once in a while, and so it's been like it was so fun because when she left as an eighth grader, I told her, I said, I taught her in seventh grade. So when she was leaving in eighth grade, I'm like, I really miss your videos. They brought me so much more
Yeah.
joy than I originally thought. And so then she sent me like one final eighth grade video of her, like her send off. And now she emails me. And so it was something so small, started so simple early on, but made such a big difference in my life and in hers. So
Oh my gosh, definitely. You remember
yeah.
that? I think it's, what is it, that ASMR, like where people would like chew, like those weird videos where like it was a really big on YouTube when Luke was born, and my kids would watch it. Like they'd watch somebody just like chewing their McDonald's or somebody
Yes.
slurping, whatever. And so I was pregnant, and so like smells bothered me, everything bothered me. So I had one student, and he knew it. So same thing. They would have to submit, a Flipgrid character analysis, wherever it was,
Yes.
and then he'd be like, "And I have something special for you," and it would be a video of like somebody chowing down on some disgusting food, and I'm like, "I hate you," but I like secretly loved it. Or
Right.
he would bring it up in class, like, "Oh, Miss Coach, will you show my Flipgrid video?" I'm like, "Oh yeah," get all excited, and then I'd be like, "Oh wait," and then the kids would be excited too. They're like, "What'd you send me this time?" Or they
That
would,
is so funny.
and then they did it when I was on maternity leave then too. In case you missed us, or in case you missed me, and then there would be like a random video of somebody slurping their Coke or whatever it was. I'm like, oh. But again, it's that connection, and you got to
Mhm.
go with it, right? You can't work against it. That's what they're doing. So you might as well roll with it.
Yeah, I think that's the big takeaway, right? Is just embrace it because it'll make a big difference. It establishes the relationships. And as Joshua Stamper says in the comments, adults feel that way during the season. The kids do as well,
Yeah,
but they don't always necessarily know how to identify or communicate their feelings, which I
right.
think is such a good point. So, Josh, thanks for bringing that up because yeah, we can identify it. We can see the pattern of year after year. Maybe
Right.
those seasons or whatever the season is, it kind of impacts our emotions, and maybe we've been able to reflect and regulate ourselves, but kids don't always have that opportunity. So providing them an opportunity for that is good. And if nothing else, do a writing prompt of like, how are you feeling today? The weather, we haven't seen the sun in 6 weeks or
Mhm.
whatever. So all right, well, Andrea, we have talked a lot about some really great things some people could take away to their classrooms, but I would like to highlight someone
Yeah.
who is a big deal in our network right now. So, you ready for our community spotlight?
Yes.
All right, welcome back to our Wednesday wake up where we are live. And typically, you would see maybe some different faces on our Wednesday wake up, but Andrea and I had the opportunity to take over and we have taken over. So, welcome if you are just joining us. We are live every Wednesday on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And it's really an opportunity for us to kind of hang out and talk about all the things, but also to have an opportunity to kind of set a challenge, highlight a community member, and hopefully have you walking back into your schools with something to take away. And so we're now at the point where we get to highlight someone in our community that is total rock star. So I hope she is still in the comments.
See, she was earlier, so I was trying to scroll through to see if she's still here.
Yes. We want to highlight Stacy Benton, sorry, that she is a phenomenal second grade teacher who uses the grid method. I know she just recently started posting some pictures of her grid, and it was so cute to see
For
how
little
she had
people.
organized it. Yep, for the second graders. She also is an ambassador. And so I would love Andrea kind of talk about some of the amazing things she does in the ambassador world.
Mhm.
And also, she is going to be featured on our 12-hour next month. So, Andrea, I don't know how much you've known Stacy, but what do you know from the ambassador side? Can you share some insight on Stacy?
Sure. Well, Stacy is one of our newest ambassadors. So she just joined our crew at the beginning of this year. So in literally January 1st is when she was first submitted. But I got to meet her in person at the Teach Better conference, like I'm sure a lot of you did if you're able to be there. She was one of our volunteers, and she was so instrumental in helping with whatever needed to be done. She's from Tennessee, so we're trying to, build up our Teach Better family in Tennessee. She is just so sweet. The way she talks about her second graders, the pictures that she shows, she is just that warm and fuzzy teacher. And I know all of her students love her. They are rocking the grid. Obviously, Katie and I doing the grid in middle school, we're like, oh, totally manageable. But the
Yeah.
teachers who do it in elementary school, like, mad props to you.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing framework that it does work K through 12 and beyond. It works in the college curriculum too, but she has it down. But the kids understand it. They go to their stations. It's really amazing to see it work through a younger lens. So I love watching
Hmm.
her, all the stuff that she posts about it.
And you're absolutely right. She just kind of radiates that passion and positivity towards students. And so it is really fun. If you don't follow her on Twitter. She loves to kind of give updates. And we both kind of like, oh my gosh, those cute things she did for the grid to get it organized. Because yeah, it is a different beast to tackle it at a younger age, especially
Mhm.
if they're still learning how to read and some of those
Right.
things that you and I naturally would push out in our classroom. You
Mhm.
do have to kind of think differently at a younger age, and she is rocking it. I am so excited that she's going to be a featured guest on the
Yes.
12-hour. So, and yeah, she's a new to the ambassador program, so she's going to bring tons of great insight. But Stacy, we love you. As Josh said in the comments, she's a total rock star. So, Stacy, thank you, and thanks for joining us this morning. It was perfect when I saw your name pop up. I was pretty excited because it's not often that the community highlight, the person that we get
Mhm.
to feature, is in the comments. So I'm glad you get to hear us brag on you. So if you know Stacy, or even if you don't, go ahead and drop some love for her in the comments. Stacy, thank you so much for all you do for our community, and thank you so much for just kind of bringing your insight. So another great ambassador that is doing
Mhm.
rock star things. So, and I want to highlight, I mentioned it briefly, but we have our 12-hour next
Yes.
month. So I am
Literally,
very
it's almost exactly a month away, right?
It is exactly 1 month, I think,
Yeah.
from today. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the 25th. So, uh, yeah, that's gonna be great. There's a great lineup. If you haven't checked out one of the graphics, make sure you find them. They're all, I feel like, all over social media, but there are some great segments. Are there any that kind of stand out to you that you're super excited about?
I mean, I'm biased because a lot of our ambassadors are on there. So
Yes.
Stacy's, we also have Megan, we have Lindsay Titus that's going to be jumping on there. We've
Yeah.
got Kim. A lot of our ambassadors are focusing on the grid method. So we've got a couple
Mhm.
sessions on that about how do you manage the grid method. We have one session where they're going to actually be kind of like creating a grid, I
Yeah.
think, directly right on the screen.
Yep.
Some of our other ambassadors will be talking about just focusing on like that student engagement part. So those I'm looking the most forward to because I get to see our ambassadors in action. But there's so many. I love the way, Katie, do you want to break? I know you have it more memorized than I do. Like we broke it down differently this year, like
Yes. Yeah. So
different
it,
segments.
I feel like every 12-hour we kind of look at it through a different lens. And this one, we really wanted to be strategic about the day. And so the morning is really focused on like the tangible takeaways, really for classroom teachers or like people who work directly with students. So it can be coaches or, interventionists or anything like that. But the idea is really tangible takeaways for you to use with students immediately. And I know that you know this, but we really strive on not just giving you another thing on your to-do list, but giving you something that you can implement immediately. And I know you and I've gone to tons of PD where we walk out and our brain is like, and our
Wow.
to-do list is so long, but the likelihood of it actually going into action is
It's minimal.
probably slim. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we really want it to be a case of you can watch the 12-hour, you can kind of pay attention in the morning, take some things and start them on Monday. And so I am really excited. We've got some people with a lot of energy, you know, to start our morning off. We've got some like fabulous people, everything from like grading to like just like practices, you know, things to just do naturally in your classroom, which is great. And then the middle of the day is focused on administrators, and we have admin mastermind every Tuesday morning. And so we're kind of taking that idea of what we do in admin mastermind and bringing it to 12-hour, which for people who don't go to admin mastermind, it's going to be kind of fun to have them be able to see just a little taste of what that might look like. And so we've got a whole lineup of great administrators joining us for that. And then the afternoon, really, it's like after, I think, 2 p.m. Is all just things that we offer as a team. So if you bring the Teach Better team to your school, that is kind of some of the stuff that you will see, which is why there's the grid method on there. There's how to help and support grid users. So we've got an administrator coming in to talk about how does she support her staff, which I think is kind of a cool avenue to take because we haven't done that. So yeah, the whole afternoon into the evening is going to be focused on kind of exclusive Teach Better trainings, which we've never done before. We've never offered that. So, and then we have some exciting way to wrap it up, but we are going to have a big announcement right before, and we cannot say it here. I almost did it the other day on another thing, but we have a big announcement coming up. You'll want to make sure that you check out the 12-hour. That's all I'm going to say so that I don't accidentally ruin something.
We'll just do a big wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Just be there. Can we tell them like when they have to be there? That's too much.
Well, I just feel like they should probably join a Sunday wake up in the middle of February first, or Sunday.
So
Sunday show.
Yeah.
Yes. I think they should do that first. See, I'm trying so hard not to say it. I don't even know what I'm.
So basically, February, you have to watch the Sunday Wake Up and then stay tuned to the 12-hour live. And
it's not Sunday Wake Up. It's the Sunday.
Oh, well,
Sunday show.
Yeah, Sunday wrap up. Sunday scare.
Sunday. Yeah.
Oh no, we're gonna get fired.
We were doing so good.
We're doing the Wednesday Wake Up now. It's the Sunday kickoff.
Brad Hughes, where are you at?
Josh, are you still in? What's the Sunday show called?
Sunday warm up. Thank you, Erin.
There we go.
So you should probably join our private Facebook group for a Sunday warm up sometime in the middle of February, because there's going to be something that then impacts Sunday weekly warm up. Oh, thank you.
Go. Thank you.
Thank you to all the people.
No.
I just want to remind you guys.
See, it's a team effort. It's a team effort.
It is a team effort. And I just want to remind you that it is 6:45, Andrea, in my time. So, and we both commented that we get up this early, but having to do things this early is different.
Usually I'm up this early watching Sesame Street with my children laying in bed.
Right. Yes.
I actually had my teeth brushed and a little bit of makeup on and my hair is brushed.
You look fabulous.
Excited, everybody. I brushed my teeth for all of you.
Good, because I didn't want to have a smelly breath. Do you ever, this is a random question, then we'll get into our weekly challenge. Do you put perfume on before you join a virtual meeting or like a virtual thing?
I did not today, but I have before.
Okay, I do it every single day.
Really?
And yes, and I work from my house. So full transparency, I work from my house. My husband is here sometimes, he's hybrid. Every day I put on perfume, and it's every single day I put it on, and then I go, why did I do that? I literally will be around no one today.
You did it because you were thinking about hugging your husband, so you wanted to smell good for him.
I told Matt you were totally going to bring that up. Andrea, shut up. Janelle, enjoy your cups of coffee. I'm on like a full cup. I'm to like here. Usually I've got this down like clockwork where I finish the cup of coffee right as we wrap up. So Andrea, rather than talking about hugging, which you know is my least favorite subject, would you like to get into our morning challenge?
Let's do it.
right. Well, my name is Katie, and I'm with Andrea, and we just learned what our Sunday show is, apparently for the first time. And we have covered a lot of really great things, but let's hope we can end strong because I feel like
We started off so well. Like usually the beginning, I feel like it's like rough and everybody finds their stride. We were like on it. And then
we were very
that Sunday show derailed us. But here we go. We got
great.
this challenge.
Sunday weekly warm up.
Warm up. There we go.
We got it. Yeah, join that, you guys, because it's a great show. All right. Well, we like to end our Wednesday wake up with a challenge to kind of get you through the week. We do this strategically on Wednesdays, as we know sometimes Wednesdays can be a little tricky to wake up and get going, knowing that you are halfway through the week. But we want to end your week strong so that you feel like you can tackle whatever those classrooms bring. So, Andrea, we had kind of talked about some different things to do today, but do you have a challenge in mind for our viewers/listeners?
I do. So I'm going to steal one from one of our amazing mentor ambassadors. So part of our ambassador program is on Mondays, we always post a Monday challenge. So I think this one works perfectly for what we were talking about today. So Mark this week, he's from Ohio. Shout out to him, Mark Horner. He is an administrator. This is his first year as an administrative role. And he challenged us to reach out to a student that might not necessarily be in your class and have that one-on-one conversation with them. So today, let's say, the teacher next door to you is running late because of the snow and you've got to pull, his or her class into yours. Pick out a random kid and have a conversation with them. Again, you say, well, we talk to our students all the time. Yeah, but not about like content things. Maybe you do, you work in the lunch line and, you have to, I know when I did lunch duty, it was all kids. I didn't know them all. And, you got to wait till the next kid can go up. So you have that 30 seconds before they can get into the line. Hey, you have a pet at home? What's your dog's name? And just talk to them about something random. And then just kind of see where it goes. So a challenge for today is to reach out to a student that maybe you don't necessarily always talk to, or it can even just be a coworker. Maybe there's that coworker that's new this year. In the hall, you work in the 8th grade hallway, they're in the 7th grade hallway, you don't get to connect very often, more than just a, hey, how's it going? Stop and ask them something personal.
I love that. And I know I saw the video that Mark posted. Shout out, Mark is fantastic. And that video was fabulous because he was like in a snowy, woodsy area. So it was like a gorgeous like scene. But I really honestly love that it can be a student or an adult. But I think it all kind of goes back. I think we're coming like full circle, is that it comes back to building those relationships, especially in a time of year that sometimes can be so dreary. And what a way to brighten a student's day by just asking them something not school related. It could be about maybe the team that they're playing on or, something that they do for the school, but not content. We're not talking like go ask them to answer a question about your class.
No figurative language questions, which I know
right.
Right.
Don't give them a math problem and try to stump them. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
But just like having an impromptu conversation, not necessarily scripted, is so important. And I'm kind of excited to see how it feels on the other side, to have the conversation, to bring that joy to somebody else, I think is going to boost you just like it'll boost them. So fantastic challenge, Andrea. I'm so glad you brought that here for everybody, since it was in our private ambassador group. So, well, this has been fun. Andrea, thank you so much for getting up and tackling this Wednesday wake up show. Hopefully we did an okay job. We were not Jeff and Ray, but I think we held our own. I think we did a pretty good job.
Sure. I think we checked off. I would give us a 4 on a standards-based scale for sure.
Oh my gosh. I think so. We're so good. All right. Well, thank you so much for everybody who is joining us this morning. Hopefully you feel inspired to build those relationships and tackle the rest of your week strong, whether you're enjoying your snow day today or whether you are in the classrooms. Just remember to embrace those relationships, embrace those silly moments, and, let the kids be kids. And I hope you guys have a great week.
Bye, everybody.